Mm, hey, yo, 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 it's the ugly truck driver. How the flock are you? Well, I don't know how many of you keep close track of what happens in Washington, D.C. with the president or Congress or the rest of that. But this last week, okay, our wonderful world of Congress, Democrats, Republicans, and independents passed a thing called the Farm Bill for 2014. It's a 956-page bill on what Congress is going to slate to help, quote, the people that own farms. It sounds innocent enough. The problem is the 956-page bill comes to 956 billion with a B dollars. That's like just short of a trillion. Yeah, bet you didn't know that, huh? Problem you've got is that this farm bill is filled with so much pork, it's ridiculous. And there's pork from the Democrats and pork from the Republicans. And some of it is massively stupid. The bunch of it, the biggest bunch of it, almost half the cost of the bill, is corporate welfare to big corporations. And it has such interesting things in it as a 15-cent per tree tax on Christmas trees to promote Christmas tree sales. Like we really need that? It's got things about catfish. Trust me. Thailand, Vietnam, catfish, if it comes to the American market, you don't want to eat it. But it's got a whole bunch of pork in it. You can go look it up. And the thing that is totally disgusting of this $956 billion in this pork-laden bill, 4% of corporations that are involved will get over 70% of the benefit. That's called corporate welfare. Tax breaks, $51 billion for this, $110 billion for that. You know, it doesn't help John Q. Public. It doesn't help the family farmer. But it does a lot of giveaways for big corporate farms or food producers. But see, you're asleep at the switch. We just had another $1 trillion tacked onto our federal debt, and you were asleep at the switch. This goes along with a thing that I've been pushing, that a lot of people have been pushing on different websites, about term limits for our elected officials. Everybody wants to talk about what they call the 28th Amendment of term limits. Well, if you're half a brain awake, you know Congress would never bring that up, push it through, much less have the president sign it. Why? Because these guys that have been in office 12 years, 18 years, 20 years. Was it Waxman was in office 40 years before he decided to retire? And it doesn't matter if they're Republican or Democrat. After they get there for a while, they forget why they're there. The only thing they think and take care of is their own business. The lobbyists from different corporations get to them, and they're basically bought out. The only thing they care about is raising enough money for their next election so they can suck up all the government benefits. So this two-term limit under the 28th Amendment is never going to happen in Washington, D.C. What has to happen, and this has to happen at the state level, is to get a referendum on the ballot in all 50 of the United States and have Republicans and Democrats vote on it to limit terms in Congress and the Senate, federal and state level, to limit them to 2 terms in office and you're out. See, this is another form of political pork. Some of these people come in, they're attorneys, a couple of $100,000 by the time they leave. They're worth millions. And when, as just recently happened with my local congressman here, Congressman Rob Andrews, after he got caught dipping his hand into his election funds for a vacation and was cited before the ethics committee, all of a sudden, before the 2014 elections, after 24 years in office, decides he's going to retire because he got this offer from a big corporate law firm in Philadelphia. We'll see if he retires, then that ethics investigation goes away. Yeah. But see, don't feel bad for Rob Andrews. He brings his retirement benefits from Congress with him. When he starts work for this law firm in March, he'll earn about $1 million a year as a corporate attorney for this law firm that has contacts with big corporations. He'll end up as some kind of legal lobbyist for various and sundry corporations, swinging his weight around. This is what all these legal types that get elected to office eventually do. When they do retire, they get picked up by some lobbyist organization, some law firm organization, and go back and recycle the inside the beltway stupidity and insanity. This is why I say 2 terms and you're out. Congress will never vote this in. They're not that crazy to cut their own throats financially or politically. So it's got to be a state referendum. It's got to be pushed and pushed hard by both sides, Democrats and Republicans and independents, that this gets put on a voting ballot in each of the 50 states and passed. Because, see, this is cutting off the snake's head at the head. Because the tail, which is in Washington, D.C., will never happen. We're $17 trillion in a hole. We got a budget battle coming up shortly in Washington, D.C. It's already been stated in more than one place that by the time Obama gets out of office, we'll have a federal deficit of over $23 trillion. But all you morons out there, all you dirtbags, all you goofballs, all you low mentality voters, just keep going along with the program. And actually, if you include black ops, unfunded mandates, a whole bunch of other programs, we're not 17 trillion in the hole. We're over 121 trillion, which we will never be able to pay back. And don't buy this numbers game that Obama says, well, I've reduced our deficit by $600 million. He hasn't done diddly crap. It's just like when they sit there and they have a law and everybody's screaming, you're cutting our funding, you're cutting our funding. No, most of the funding that is voted on has an automatic 3% increase a year on any given organization or government entity for spending. So if they say they're getting cut, they're not getting cut. They're just getting held back to the original. And then you get guys like Sean Hannity. Well, let's have this penny law. Cut 1 penny out of every dollar for everything that is funded, and we can get back to a balanced budget. Wrong, Sean. You are so wrong if you believe that crap. We need to just stop spending. Hold the line. Because you see, all these plans that these people in Congress, whether it's federal or state, come up with are what they call 10-year plans. Why do they do that? Well, they're hoping by the time 10 years goes down the road that the plan works, which it won't. They're hoping that you're stupid enough to forget on what they voted on. And then by the time the 10 years is up, they have plausible deniability because 2 administrations may have been in since then. And they walk away scot-free with their pockets loaded, with their bribes, with their lobbyists, everything else coming down the line. And you and me, Joe Sixpack, John Q. Public, get to pay for their stupidity. And yeah, we are at fault. We American voters, Republican, Democrat, Independent, it's our fault. We put these morons in office. What's worse is we keep putting the same morons back in office. When are you gonna wake up and smell the coffee, people? These people, these governmental bureaucracies are bankrupting us. Prime example, Obamacare, 2,700-page bill. By the time all the bureaucracy crap kicked in, the bill stands over 7 feet tall in printed paper. But see, what happened is Congress just passed the law, threw it off to the bureaucracy, and said, you handle it. And then the bureaucracy created all these other regulations. I mean, even Harry Reid and Max Baucus back in May of 2013 said, Obamacare is a train wreck. And of course, the liberal media just buries anything that's negative about what's happening in the budget or Obamacare or Benghazi or the IRS or anything else, because they are in bed with the liberalist, socialist, communists that want to just totally destroy America as we know it, to include our Declaration of Independence, our Constitution of the United States, and our Bill of Rights. These people are lawyers. These are legal eagles that went to school, the bulk of them. There's a couple doctors in there, 1 or 2 Joe Sixpack types. But the bulk of them, they're out for one thing: themselves at any cost over you. They all need to be kicked out of office on both sides for malfeasance in office. They have violated their oath of office to protect and defend the Constitution of the United States. And they will lie to you right to your face. And do it with a straight face. And it doesn't matter, like I said, Democrat or Republican. There is no difference. They only want you to think there is a difference. And there isn't. They are as corrupt can be. Absolute power corrupts absolutely. Go read George Orwell's book, 1984, written in the late 30s, early 40s by George Orwell, on how our government and our world was taken over and became a socialist, Marxist, communist organization that controls your life from cradle to grave. It's here, folks. It's really here. It doesn't matter if it's in the United States or England or Germany or Greece or the Middle East. It's here. And you're asleep at the switch. And you won't stand up, strap on a set of balls, stick a steel rod down your spine, and say, this stuff needs to stop, and stop now. And it doesn't matter what the name tag is on their political party. They need to go bye-bye. We need new blood in all our offices, federal, state, and local. We need to have more access and accountability to the bureaucracies that these people have given these powers to run whatever. Probably, if I'm thinking hard enough, whether it's gun laws, food stamps, you name it, immigration, probably 2/3 of these bureaucrats and the bureaucratic legislation they've created just needs to be stuck in a paper shredder. Because the only thing they care about is doing their job, saving their butt. And none of them have enough guts, brains, or whatever to stand up and say, this is totally screwed, man. We need to fix this. We're just screwing over our own American citizens. And at what cost? But see, they're like the Nazis there in Germany at World War II with Hitler. I was just doing my job. I did not know what I was doing. I did not see nothing, hear nothing, or know nothing. That's your bureaucracies for you. And like I say, they're held unaccountable. They're virtually insulated, that you can't sue them, put them in jail, put them on trial. I mean, just Wall Street crash, all the banks, the markets, the derivatives, the real estate, the crashes. How many corporate CEOs or CFOs or traders have been indicted and put on trial to go to jail for what they did to the American economy back in 2008? Show me one. You can't do it. Goldman Sachs. John Corzine was the CEO and CFO, Goldman Sachs. Later became the governor of the state of New Jersey. With his liberalistic policies, darn near bankrupted us. Then when he got out, he created this investment company. Lost about 12 or 15 billion dollars. Now, this is almost 5 years ago. He got called before Congress. I don't know where the money went, man. All his money and all his high-priced attorneys have kept him pretty much out of trouble. But see, now they sat there and they've got a judgment that says they can go ahead with his trial against him to make him accountable for all these billions that were lost. You know how many mom and pop type people with 401ks that they trusted their money to this moron to, lost their investment completely? Thousands, thousands and thousands. But see, he's still a millionaire. Actually, he's a multi-millionaire. Will he ever see jail time? I don't think so. It's because our legal system is totally screwed up. There's too many caveats. There's too many mea culpas. I'm sorry, I didn't know what I was doing. Really? How many trillions of dollars, John Corzine, did you make for Goldman Sachs when you were their CEO and CFO? And when it crashed, y'all ran. And how much money did you get to take with you? While the rest of us all sat there with sucking wind. So this is it, folks. You can take your Farm Bill of 2014. You can take your federal and state legislatures that create these fiascos, and nobody gets held accountable for it. Nobody gets put on trial. Nobody goes to jail. I mean, we've got, right now, Washington, D.C., for how many years? We've got congressional investigations going on about Benghazi, about the IRS, and everything else. Congressional investigations are the world's biggest dog and pony show going, because they will beat it to death and beat it to death and beat it to death, and people will plead the Fifth Amendment, and people will plead stupidity, and people will refuse to come up with subpoenaed records. And they got all these high-powered attorneys that, like Bill Clinton, what's the definition of is when it came to Lewinsky? These are the people we're dealing with, folk. You don't have anybody down there that, A, knows how to run a family budget and live within it. I mean, not for years and years. After Nixon took us off the gold standard, central banks, the Fed, they're just printing money. There's nothing, no value behind it. And we just keep letting it go and don't hold anybody accountable for it. Wake up. Wake up, America. Wake up, world. You're being screwed, blued, and tattooed. But what do I know? I'm just a dumb 67-year-old broke down, poor truck driver. What can I know? Think on it. Sometimes it takes people like me to put a boot up somebody's butt and not be politically correct and say, I apologize for kicking your ass. No, I don't apologize. I'm glad I kicked your ass. And you need some jail time. Get in there with some of them Bubba types that drag their knuckles on the ground and see how big and badass you are then. Truck driver's opinion, you understand.